Hey, gals, guys, and otherwise. I'm Jonathan O. Roselion.
And I'm Noah, also known as Polyphonic, and you're listening to Horns and Wings, the podcast where we read through Saga issue by issue. How's it going, John?
Pretty good. We're in a between the arcs, and so this is destined to be a shit show. So let's get into this shit show.
Yes, so we decided to, because you guys value our opinions so much, for this Between the Arcs, we're going to do a little top 10, well, actually top 12 list. What exactly are we?
Of 12 things.
Well, you know, what are these 12 things in question? Are they the 12 days of Christmas? Are they the 12 eggs in a carton?
No, keep going with this.
The 12 angry men.
Are they the 12 which are cheaper by the? All right, this is we're talking about we're going to rank. We're going to have both of our personal rankings of the covers, the cover art so far for each issue of Saga. So the first two trades. So those 12 angry covers of Saga so far. I'm pumped for this one because
I'm generally
so
curious.
Hard to do.
Yeah. I feel personally bad about every ranking I did behind number one.
The one in last is something I absolutely love. All of them.
Yeah, exactly.
My prediction for it is that I think that our top 2 or 3 are going to be the same, and the other like 9 of them is just going to be all over the place and no consistencies at all.
I think our top 3, I don't know if the order will be the same, but I think it's going to be the same 3 in the top 3.
Yeah. And it's just because honestly, like if I made this list again tomorrow, it would not be the same list. It was just so sort of like, oh, well, I give this one a 99 out of 100, and this one's more of a 98.9 out of 100. So so this is an important list. So we're gonna sort of descend. From 12, and then count down.
What's coming in at number 12 for you?
Number 12. So I'm starting this one out controversially. I'm gonna say issue number 1 is my 12th.
Oh, wow. That's a fiery take right out the gate.
I think the cover does everything it needs to do for an issue 1. I think it's very effective, but like there's always I feel like the hook of the cover, which is probably like the breastfeeding happening on the cover, your eye isn't especially drawn to it, and it feels more just like am I the only one that just like sort of doesn't notice the breastfeeding on it? It's
definitely one of the last things you notice.
Yeah, and like there's always these like very striking things, and this one just seems like almost like, you know, whenever an artist posts their like, oh, I do commissions and this is what 2 characters full body look like on a thing, no background, and so it's I think it is still iconic and wonderful, but it is in last place for me.
Yeah, see, I've got that one actually up a lot higher because of the iconic nature of it. Not necessarily objectively, but contextually, like. When I think Saga, that image is one of the things that comes into my head. Totally. That is the Saga image. So I think that I weighted it a lot more because of that than kind of objectively because of the art.
Right. I think, honestly, for me, it might just be, again, like equally not objectively, but just because I've been so desensitized to it, because this is probably the Saga image I've seen more than any other Saga image.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love it to death. Boy, I already feel guilty.
We're gonna need to qualify with we love all of these.
No, what's your number 12? Which one do you hate?
I absolutely detest, by which I mean I love marginally less than the rest, Saga number 10. So that's the orange one with Isabel and Clara facing off. I think it's a good cover. I think it's dynamic, but I think what I really love about Saga covers is the character focus, and you don't get that as much in this. It's a bit more of a kind of action set piece, and to me it just doesn't quite read and engage in the same way as some of the other covers.
Right. Right. And I do, yeah, I think that like a lot of the good ones sort of tease the some aspect of what we're getting, and I like the tease enough of this one. This one is pretty low on my list too. I like the tease enough of like, oh, Clara just banished Isabel to this planet, and so that should be fun that they're gonna interact. But it also, I'm not like, oh, there's gonna be like I'm not necessarily falling for there's gonna be a showdown between these two or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But this one, actually, I was very torn on placing that one a bit higher just because, again, so much of these are based on how much I love the color in the background.
I know.
And that's such a good, like, goldenrod.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's interesting picks so far.
And we'll trade off. So I'll do number 11 before you. Number 11, I have, which I know this is one that you like a lot, I think, actually. But I have Saga number 2, the baby hands and the claw.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is placed pretty high on mine. Like, when I was making the list, that one was stuck very close to the top.
Again, when I was making my list, I actually noticed this was kind of a theme. The character focuses are what I really like. Mm-hmm. And I also feel like this is one where, I mean, the color palette's still beautiful, but the color palette doesn't quite catch my eye in the same way as some of the others. And I think it's because, like a lot of my favorite ones, there's a bit more of a set piece, a bit more of a background. With this, it's just the hands on the green, and that doesn't quite stick out to me in the same way.
I think it's funny because I think that's why it sticks out to me so much is it's just a solid color and then the hands on the green. But yeah, no, which with your love of character focused stuff, you're gonna hate my number 11.
Oh yeah,
which is issue number 3 with Isabel on the cover.
Yeah,
her in the woods.
This one's interesting because I mean obviously I have it higher than number 11, but this is one that in my mind like stuck out so much more, and then I went back and looked at it and I was like, well, I mean, it's again, okay, I'm just gonna stop qualifying at this point, but but like I love it, but it definitely. I remember when I first kind of saw that art, it was a lot more impactful to me than kind of looking back on it now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the appeal is just like people new to the series.
Yeah,
and just being like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
because you just have like a punk rock cut in half teen ghost on the cover of this thing that you thought was like a fantasy sci-fi. Like the contemporariness is very striking, and the character herself is fantastic. But yeah, it doesn't especially stick out. I was actually like with that, I'm surprised by a lot of my own choices in this.
Yeah, I also ended up having that one a lot lower than I thought I would.
Well, let's go to number 10, which my turn again. Sticking with it bums me out because Isabel's one of my favorite characters. But yeah, that chapter 10 with Isabel and Clara facing off is my number 10. So Isabel takes slot 10 and 11 for me. We need some more Isabel.
Yeah, some more good
stuff.
Isabel covers. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some coming up for sure.
Yeah, I think we said what is to be said about the Isabel and Clara one. It's good, not great. My number 10, again, I know this one is probably going to be controversial for you because I know you love this one, but Saga number 6, The Leaf.
Oh, yeah, that one, I like, again, it's one of those things where it's just like, I love it, but it still didn't necessarily, like, I don't think it's in my top half of this list.
Yeah. I think The Leaf is approaching the point where now we're at the point where almost any other comic, that's the greatest cover in their history.
Yeah.
But Saga, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah, I think that's a thing where like we pointed out before how like neither of us really remembered that cover,
Yeah.
and that was I think both like a fascinating thing and maybe a mark against it.
Yeah.
But just the concept of it I love.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I think it's interesting because, like, I mean, almost calling forward, not to spoil, but this is a cover. Like, it feels like that concept is executed way better in the cover of Saga 54.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
kind of the kind of object. I don't even really know how to describe it, but I feel like they're thematically similar. But to me, the theme in mine is I really love the character driven stuff a lot more, and now I've gotten all of the non-character ones
There you go.
out of the way. Yeah.
How convenient. All right, well then what's your number 9?
Number 9 is where Isabel slots in for me.
That's the third issue. Isabel?
Third issue. Yeah, third issue Isabel. Yeah.
So we're only 2 off on that one.
Yeah.
So the closest we've been is 2 off for 2 of them so far. So this is officially where we hit like, oh, this is pure classic art that I absolutely love, and it's still 10th out of 12 for me, or 9th. But the Prince Robot portrait is my number 9.
That's actually, not to spoil, but Prince Robot portrait is my number 8.
Okay. All right. We're getting close. It's a good one. This is, again, I would love this as I feel like there's this, I think that's what makes the first arc, because looking at it now, the first arc, except for a couple of them, is lower on my list. And this is a lot of the stuff where it's just like, oh, a lot of the surprise was just the character design reveals.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily more striking, but it's still a brilliant cover.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's brilliant, and I really like that it evokes like a medieval portrait. Like that you might see of a painting of a prince, and I think that's really cool. And there's this kind of jarring dissonance that, again, I think is your visceral reaction upon first seeing it, where you're like, this medieval portrait and then the TV screen. But I think when you're more familiar with the character of Prince Robot, your look isn't, oh, that's jarring. You're like, oh yeah, that's Prince Robot. Right?
Yeah, no, oh man, I'm just so excited for we get some really, really good Prince Robot covers in this series. I think Prince Robot might take the cake for the best covers overall.
I would push back on that, because I think every cover, spoiler alert, every cover with the Will fucking slaps.
That's very true. That's very true. But I'm just thinking of like, just in terms of just the concept or the story that the covers are telling, because we're gonna get into another Prince Robot cover in this list, but also I'm thinking of what's the one where he's sitting at a news desk. Do you remember this one?
Oh yeah,
because that one's very good. He has some good stuff.
Yeah, that's a very recent one. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
49 actually. I've got them all pulled up here. Yeah, that's 49.
So yeah, are we on to 8?
I think we're on to 8. What's your number? Wait. Oh yeah, which is my
yours
Prince. Yeah, my Prince Robot. Yeah. So what's your number 8?
Mine is Marco covered in blood. The cover for chapter 7. Yeah, it's
okay.
Pretty...
That's a lot lower than I've got it.
Yeah, no, this is one that it's I don't know. This is honestly at this point, like, again, we're just going with gut feeling, and it's something that I'm rethinking now, like a day later. But it's just, I'm just going with my gut, man. And this is, I love that salmon in the background. And this is the one with him surrounded by wings, which we were too stupid to realize were the actual wings of the
not just a bunch of like seagulls.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's a mark against the cover that it just didn't spell it out enough for me. It's Fiona's fault, not mine. That I'm so stupid.
Here on Saga Nitpicks.
Oh man, it's legitimately a 10 out of 10 cover, and it gets eighth for me. And we had your 8. So what is your 7?
My 7 is actually, and this is one that ended up again lower than I thought it would, is the other Prince Robot cover. With him sprawled out, gray, the like, what do you call it? Like the TV color screen thing. There's a name for it, but yeah. That's my number 8. I love that. I think what's really impactful about it, especially like I've got them all pulled up here, is it's like incredibly jarring with how like kind of, not in a bad way, but how like bland and washed out the color palette is, because like you're used to these very bright, vivid Saga color palettes, and then you've got that in Robot's face, but everything else is almost like gray and washed out. And I think that's really interesting and compelling, but at the end of the day, that also knocks it a little in my book, maybe.
Right. Well, that's what, looking ahead at the next arc of covers, like just like with everything else Saga, there is just like you think you understand the theme here, and it just goes totally different and totally crazy. But yeah, I think that's a wait. Well, what are we on? Number 7? Will this be the first one that we have at the same rank? No, mine's the Trail of Leaves.
You've got Leaves there. All right,
I got Leaves there.
We've covered Leaves. You have any more thoughts on Leaves?
I like it's still rad. It's still interesting. I think I think in the context of just like outside of Saga and just as a cover for anything, I think it is super iconic and interesting. But yeah, and I think honestly, I think the lack of characters is a testament to the strength of the image itself, where it's like you don't even need some Saga characters, and I'm in love
That's
with
true.
it because it's just cool art.
What do you got at number 6?
Number 6, I have the Prince Robot with Bodies. So we are one off.
We got some close ones.
We got some closies. What do you got for number 6?
Number 6, and I really actually thought this one was going to crack the top 5, but just missed out. We've got Bar.
Oh, that's a gorgeous one. Obviously, it's a bit higher for me.
Yeah.
So why is it number 6 for you?
I love the colors of it. The color palette, it might be one of my favorite color palettes, and that's something that I love. But there's something about the tight shot on the face that just doesn't do it for me quite as much.
Well, maybe you should turn the page then, and that should do something.
Yeah,
for
something
you.
will do it for me. Yeah.
In the immortal words of Noah, But
at the end of the day, this is really just a case of no knocks on this. I just love the next 5 so much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that one places a bit higher for me, and I think it might just be take Bar out of there, and it might just be that yellow and green combo of the background and the title, and that alone like has me sold. And then there's this gorgeous, I love floral print. I love the character. Honestly, I think this might have ranked higher also because of my attachment to the character.
I think my reread of that issue actually moved that higher than it might have been otherwise.
Yeah. It just, I have a very, that's probably the character, like with where we're at right now, that's probably the most evocative character just to see in anything. Like it just that I have the most emotional response to at this point, and that will definitely change over the course of the series. But right now, with how fresh that is in my mind, it got some points from that.
Yeah, it's pretty raw.
Yeah, so that was our number 6s. My number 5 is issue 2 is The Hands.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how much I love it.
All right, so what do you love about it?
It is, I think that it is, this is an interesting sort of contrast between us, that I love the ability to make something iconic and interesting and intriguing without having to use the characters and the faces. And I know, like, having, everyone talks about what works with YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that, and people love faces and people love big words, and those are the things you should have on your thumbnails or your comic book covers or whatever, or action or anything. But this is just some baby hands reaching out to some terrifying alien hands, and I love the weird story that it tells, and it's not even relevant to the issue. Like, that doesn't happen. But it's, I don't know, I appreciate the how hard that is to make that work. And it still works.
To its credit, I would say it also, like, is probably the most metaphorical of them all. And while it's not true to the issue, like, the symbol of baby hands within grasp of monster hands is pretty, like, it's pretty evocative, and it evokes the sense of danger that, especially in issue 2, you've got, like you're thrust into this world and all of a sudden things are trying to kill you, right?
Yeah, and Noah, I'm probably gonna cut this out just to not spoil it for anyone. But I was thinking that baby hands grasping for monster hands is what we should change the podcast name to. Are you down with that?
Yeah. Baby hands
really
grasping
catchy,
for monster
really
hands.
evocative. I just think it captures the series so perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, baby hands grasping for monster hands. BHGFMH for short.
It's the fucking worst. All right. So that's what I had. What do you have for number 5?
This is where I've got the iconic issue 1.
Okay.
And again, I think part of it is just like a pure raw level. I remember, like, looking at that issue still evokes reading Saga for the first time to me, and it evokes just kind of looking at that and being like, what the hell am I about to get into, and not even coming close to understanding what I'm about to get into.
Right. Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, like, I don't even know what an alternate cover number 1 would be.
Yeah.
Like, maybe one of the compendium or, like, omnibus covers or something, but, like, that's it does its job so well, and I take it for granted. So let's move on to what do you have for number 4? So far, I'm correct about my prediction of our top 3 being the same, or potentially correct.
Here's where it is going to differ, because at number 4, I have the Will and the Stock.
Oh, it does differ.
Yeah, it got edged out.
Oh, appropriate phrasing. Oh man, so this is shirtless the Will, Stock behind him, that gorgeous purple and darker purple background that I love to death.
Yeah, I love the purple. The purple is phenomenal. The whole way it evokes a romance novel is really fun.
Mm-hmm. And I will say I think we're only, well, you know what, I won't say how far off we are from that one on my list. But I will say that purple, I used pretty much that exact shade of purple and that, like, darker purple with it on my Black Panther video, and have used it so many times since because of how much I love it. It's just the best. So it's good and it's sexy. And that's why it places higher for me.
We all know your weird thing with the Stock.
You know what? I think it's the composition and the eye line and other phrases.
Here's what I will say about this one too. I love it. But looking forward, I think I prefer, which we'll actually get next arc, the number 15, the romance novel cover.
Yeah.
The Marco and Alana. It's just a bit more kind of pulpy romance.
Right.
Which I love.
Right.
But we're not talking about the future arcs. We're talking about this right now.
You know what? And I think I still prefer, as much as that one's amazing and kind of hits that nail on the head more. I love the sort of
Spiders.
reversal of roles.
You love
I
the
hate
spider.
spiders. I hate the spiders. I love the reversal of role here, where it's just like the Will is the sexualized one. The topless character is covered up. In the book, the character who's always topless is covered up, and the Will has that sort of like back to the stock, like vulnerable position, and you don't see that on covers, so I appreciate that a lot. My number 4 is Bar, so we were not that far off again. We're only off by like 2.
Yeah. Okay. Any more thoughts on Bar, or did we cover him mostly?
No, it's great. I miss him. He died. It's sad. Okay, so. Here's the thing. Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't know what your one that I don't have is, but I just realized it. So what is your number 3?
So here's what I will say is top 3 in my mind is essentially a 3-way tie.
Oh, if we were doing ties, like number 12 would have been tied for 4th with me.
Exactly. Yeah. But I actually even wrote this down differently, but as we're talking through, it's been it's changed in my mind. Number 3 number 3 is Bloody Marco. I love Bloody Marco. I think it's such an interesting cover, especially given when you're reading it, the entirety of the first arc, Marco is this pacifist, right? And you're like you see him as this really kind of like very like calm pacifistic person, and then you see this cover that is Marco drenched in blood. And I think it's really kind of visceral. And I love the composition on this. I love the way his horn frames his face. I love the way he's in perfect profile. I love how you can like almost feel the downward action of the cut and the feathers drifting upwards. It's so evocative of just kind of the brutality that Saga is capable of.
Mm-hmm. And still being something that you're allowed to put on a comic shelf.
Yes,
too.
Yes. You're just not allowed to put. You're not allowed to put wieners.
Yeah. Which spoils my issue number 13 favorite cover, which is just a big old dick. Actually, how long until we just get a dick as a cover for Saga?
That would be the dream. That would be the ideal Saga cover.
That's the finale if we're lucky.
Yeah.
108, just a dick. So you know what? If I was making this list again right now, I'd probably move that one like 2 up. Like it'd probably be above Trail of Leaves and Prince Robot with Bodies. But yeah, no, it's a great one, and I can't hold that against you. And my number 3 is The Will and the Stalk. So we have been one off a lot of times. No agreements so far on this.
What's your number 2? Do we have an agreement on number 2, or are we completely off? I think we don't have
give it away. Don't give it away if we don't, because I want to keep that suspense. My number 2.
That's how you sell a podcast.
People are just gonna fast forward through the next 10 minutes of us like just freaking out about these 2 covers that we've already talked about extensively. My number 2 is The Will and Lion Cat on the Sphere.
What a cover.
It's so good. It's so good. It's very good. It's quite good. And I like it, and it's good. What's yours? No, let's talk about this thing because it's great.
I think it's got one of, in my mind, possibly like the most Saga color palette, because it's a color palette that feels like maybe it shouldn't work, but then it works so well, and you can't quite put together why. And I think
it really is just like piss yellow all over it, and it's you'd think the yellow would be too bright. You'd think the red might clash with the yellow, but it all works so perfectly, and it really evokes who the Will is. Yeah. Have you ever done like graphic design courses or anything like that? Or color theory?
Would you hate me if I said no?
No. How dare you be on this podcast for experts and intellectuals? I mean, I haven't. This is like, by that I mean I've watched YouTube videos about it.
I've absorbed
extensively.
it secondhand or third hand.
But one of my favorite things that this definitely brings up in my mind is go look at indie movies and how many of them have just solid yellow backgrounds, like the Little Miss Sunshine poster.
Like Little Miss Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like Kill Bill or something like that.
Yeah, and that's a classic trick for a lot of indie films because that gives them a little like edge over everyone else in drawing your eye to the DVD cover or whatever.
I've actually heard that yellow performs best for YouTube thumbnails because apparently yellow activates all three cones in your eye.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like emotions, like it's happy, it's horny, and it's hungry.
Yeah, yellow is what I think of for horny. Yellow is a horny color.
It's the 3 H's. It's happy, horny, and hungry are the 3 emotions, and it activates all of them.
Yeah.
But you know, that is interesting. I don't even begin to understand any of that. But yeah, I love keeping an eye out for stuff like that now that I know a bit about it. But this is a great use of it, especially since it almost feels like with that subtle color shift between whatever sphere, which by the way, what are they even sitting on? It's nonsense. It's great.
Yeah. I'm sure it's some kind of weird sex sphere from Sextillion.
Oh yeah. Which, oh man, we'll get into some fun sextillion answers that I'm pumped to get to in this episode to the questions of the week. But yeah, I love that that slight subtle shift between the 2 shades of yellow almost makes it like at first glance it's just these two like sort of sitting in a void, like, hovering and being awesome.
Well, and I think that's one of my favorite things with the best Saga covers are like half grounded but mostly in the void.
Yeah.
And I also just love the way that there's a real spectrum of yellows here, from the shadows or I guess reflections from the stripe on the Will's pants, from Lion Cat's collar. There's all these yellows. Like there's really this kind of spectrum of yellows throughout this. Like it's not just the one yellow, and the more you look at it, the more yellows you see.
Right. It's rad. It's good. Hey, what's your number 2? Oh man, moment of truth.
My number 2 is the Will and Lion Cat.
Hey,
yeah,
best friends.
Yeah,
same mind. So why do you like this cover, Noah? Let's dive into this.
Well, the yellows, they trigger. Did you know there's actually 3 emotions that humans have?
By the way, if you go, that's a spoiler for my Hamilton video about like complex emotions and stuff. Those are the 3.
The happy, hungry, and horny.
Happy, hungry, horny. Oh, I'm glad we already have an episode title for this one. And that leaves one cover, which it seems a little obvious. And it was honestly, I was sort of reluctant to pick it a little bit, but it's just like, this is where
it's too good.
Yeah, where like in the way that I've sort of become desensitized for the first like issue cover.
Yeah, I
was just like actively like, oh, I can't even become desensitized to this because it's so good.
It's for those of you if you're haven't figured it out or you're listening or something. This is Alana reading a midnight smoke, a nighttime smoke, chewing bubblegum in her marine armor on some piece of machinery.
In my mind, it's a jet engine.
Yeah. It's just, again, this is what I was talking about with like a bit of a set piece, but then mostly the void. And the color scheme, that blue, and I think it might also be because that blue is pretty similar to the blue used in the first issue. That blue is probably the color I associate most with Saga.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's what in all the stuff I've made for the podcast and everything, like that is largely the color I go to most.
And it's pretty similar to the blue that's actually used in a few other things. It's not the exact same, but it's pretty close to Chapter 32, which is another pretty iconic cover.
Yeah. It's so, and you're talking about that sort of having the color be the void. I love the ones where the void like sort of makes sense too. Like that could be the sky, but it's like way too consistent of a color to the point where it's just really striking and interesting. Same with like the Prince Robot portrait, where that could easily be a velvet curtain, but it's also just like a red void.
Yeah, and the other Prince Robot one actually, where it could be the ground or a gray void.
Right. Yeah. So that's I think that plays into it a lot, where it's just like this sort of like barely non-reality sort of thing. Like it's just barely abstract. Because skies don't actually look like that, but you still make that connection.
I think the other thing, there's so many little details about this that I love. I like the way that there's a depth to it. It really feels like there's a foreground and a background, which you don't always get in these covers. But it's only kind of the hint of a background, and it makes Alana feel very like up there in your face. I love the warning stickers on the engine, the pink headphones, like just the little details of this cover tells such a complete story of who Alana is.
Yeah, and it's just, honestly, I think at the end of the day, it's just the vibe that it gives me. Like, to me, this just says, like, punk rock Star Wars or something.
It
is.
Yeah.
I love it for that. And, we should absolutely, I feel like we could easily do a video essay just on the, like, sort of design principles going into this cover at some point. We should actually do one of those video essays at some point.
Yeah, the problem is that I make too many video essays already. I'm really busy.
Yeah, my problem is I make too many fucking podcasts. Someday. So yeah, that's our we agreed when it really mattered. We agreed.
Yep. We came together. That is, I figured we would. I mean, that's the one, right? Like,
yeah, and I think that's a large enough sample group to determine that those are definitively the two best covers.
Yep.
So I'm glad that we've determined that for science.
I think I will stake this claim, and maybe I'll come back to it and reflect it sometime. But I actually think that this is not just the best we've encountered so far. I think this is the best Saga cover that's ever been, and I really can't imagine, as much as I love the work of Fiona Staples, I just can't imagine this being topped. This is Saga to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, hold out for issue 108, the giant dick. But until then, I think I probably agree with that. And you know what? Let's jump to a bit of so we have some matters at hand, some back matters. Play that theme music.
Uh
That was the new theme. 3 pounds on the desk and a weird sigh.
It was a perfectly normal sigh.
Too normal. That was a canned sigh if I've ever heard one. So I just want to touch on like 4 things. This is where I at the end of every arc I go back through and through perfectly legal means go read the back matter pages, the letters pages, whatever you want to call them, on the issues, the individual issues for the arc. And there's a few cool insights that I would like to bring up. The first, right off the bat, in issue number 7, and keep in mind these are all written by Brian K. Vaughan, except for one thing that is extremely fascinating that we'll get to. But issue 7, Brian K. Vaughan, half-jokingly, says how he imagines Lion Cat's voice, which is something that we've debated furiously.
Oh, and what did he say?
So the letter that he was responding to was apparently 2 friends arguing about, one person thinks it's deep hissing, and one thinks it's a like sexy man's voice.
Okay.
But both of them were under the assumption that that Lion Cat was a he, when Lion Cat is a she, and we all know this, and this is determined, and we would never make that mistake. And Brian K. Vaughan says, you're both wrong, because Lion Cat's a she, and says, I imagine that she sounds a lot like my wife, crisp, confident, vaguely Canadian. So,
hey.
So next time, if we have Haley on,
I like to describe myself as crisp, confident, and vaguely Canadian.
And one day, Brian K. Vaughan's wife.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Quadfecta.
But
Sure.
I think we all know how Lion Cat really talks. Hey, I'm lying here.
That is canon now. Death of the author. Lion Cat's from New York. But you know, and actually, I do want to bring up something interesting that I just realized I can relate to, is that Brian K. Vaughan has a Canadian wife, and he's from the Cleveland area, the suburbs of Cleveland in Ohio, and I have a Canadian wife, and I'm from the suburban Cleveland area of Ohio. So, and we both pretentiously put our middle initials in our names for no goddamn reason.
I will soon have a Canadian wife, so then we can all meet and have a Canadian wives get together. Does it count if I'm Canadian? Do I get special status for having a Canadian wife if I'm Canadian?
You have to marry an American now.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's not going to happen.
This is equivalent exchange is the alchemic rule. So yeah, but that is apparently the sad canon that I will reject for Lion Cat, is a crisp, confident, vaguely Canadian female voice.
Alrighty.
Also, this is something that I think about constantly, which is Brian K. Vaughan, when asked about like his writing habits, he says that he does not write at home. He rents a small apartment near his home that has no phone or Wi-Fi or TV or radio or anything, because he's easily distracted. And he just goes there 9 to 5 now that he has a kid, and works at this tiny ramshackle apartment that he rents. And which I always find fascinating, people's work, like just where they can work, because it is such a volatile thing, being able to like find a space where you feel creative. What's your work setup, Noah?
I have a little office that is really a glorified storage closet in my ridiculously expensive apartment in Vancouver. And
Nice.
It has no windows and no ventilation. So it turns into a sauna very quickly, especially when I have the door closed to record podcasts. I am literally, if you want some vivid imagery for you listeners here, I am literally dripping sweat as I record this in this little dark closet-like room.
Oh man.
But I do have a picture on the wall that says "fuck 'em up with the hustle."
There we go. Boy, sweaty Noah, I'm officially a happy and a hungry away from all three emotions now. So, I wish I could, because part of me just wants, like, the ideal is, you know, a cabin by a lake in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Oh, yeah.
just
Yeah.
leave me to work forever, and I will like slip writing under the door to a publisher who will never disturb me. And that is all I do forever. But I am so, just because like I've got an awful cocktail of social anxieties and depressions and all kinds of nonsense that just makes me like as unmotivated as possible. And so like my whole process is me trying to trick myself into being as productive as possible. And so like I am constantly like, I have it's different phases of work. I will go to different like places. I've been very stuck to my desk now because I built this computer. So much of my work is done at this desk. So my like I've been investing so much time and effort into making this desk area as cool as possible, and I did that through a polyphonic poster on the wall next to me right now, the Beach Boys
Oh,
one.
hey. Oh, that's
It's a
cute.
good one.
That's nice.
That's a nice thing to, if you want to feel productive and also just slightly competitive, to be like, man, I want to get posters out someday, and then put that up on the wall. I'm a big fan of going to coffee shops if I'm writing. And if I really like, for some reason, I feel so much more productive at a coffee shop and less distracted. Can you work at coffee shops?
No, I am a extrovert to the max. I cannot do anything if there's people around. I cannot focus if there's conversation going on. I need to be in my office. I basically need to work from home. I'll take a picture of my workspace for people. It's pretty sad.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
Also, my office chair is broken right now, so there's a spring that's very painful.
I've had the same office chair for, I want to say, 14 years.
Oh my god!
And it's not like one of those fancy $1,000 ones. This is probably bought for $60 at some point, and it's ridiculous because I've officially tricked out like everything else in my office. Like I have a nice sit-stand desk from IKEA. I have this fancy computer, and I've been adding all these little things. But I've had the same office chair that is broken in a way, and it's broken in a way that I refuse to get rid of it because I like to shift around a lot in my chair, and it is missing 2 screws to where if you lean forward, it's like the reverse of a reclining chair where it just leans forward like a good foot. And so it's like missing the back 2 screws. So if I lean forward, the chair will move with me. And so it's like whenever it's just like I'm comfortably seated at all times whenever I'm editing or something, where it's just like, oh, I need to lean forward and see this tiny thing. And my dumb broken chair sticks to my butt the whole time, and it's the best. So that's the key to genius in productivity, is break something until it is the good, I guess, which is what we've done to this conversation.
So yeah. So should we go to our questions of the week from this arc?
Hold on. I have one more really cool thing from the Back Matters, and
is this one going to spin off a 20-minute irrelevant tangent of conversation?
No, it's really important. It's about broken chairs, and No, this one is actually hyper fascinating, and this is like the reason I want to do this whole episode. And it is we had a guest writer on the Back Matter, and it is Fiona Staples breaking down her process of how she makes a page of Saga. And it is so relevant to so many things we've sort of theorized about, but this is a lot of stuff that I just like. Being familiar with comics, I've never heard of people doing it like this. So I'll run through it really quick. But just to give people a general idea of how art is done in comics, it's usually the writer writes the script, then the artist will do thumbnails, so little like scratchy drawings on just like really tiny versions of the pages, and then they'll do bigger, more fleshed out versions of those drawings with pencils, and that's called pencils, and then they will ink those pencils, and that's called inking, and then the colorist or the artist themselves will color in those pages, and then the letterer will letter those pages, add all the word balloons and stuff. So that's like the general, and sometimes every step in that will have a different artist or whoever on the job. But so much of this is almost entirely done by Fiona. But her process is she will thumbnail on paper, which is something that immediately surprised me because of how sort of famously digital her art is. But she starts out doing these thumbnails on paper, and then she will scan them and then have those act as the pencils for the comic. Yeah, she'll like blow it up and then have it in the computer, and those function as the pencils. And she says that she doesn't like doing pencils and then inks because it's just drawing the same thing twice. And so, which makes sense. And with how she said, with how easy it is to, like, with inking, you have to do the pencils first because that's where you can make the mistakes and erase and stuff, and then you ink over it. But with digital drawing, like, your inks, you can just erase lines effortlessly. You can just backspace out of there. So she says that she does the thumbnails on paper. She scans them in, uses those as the pencils, then inks over them in Manga Studio, which is a relatively cheap software, which I hear a lot of artists like. But she only inks in the people, the figures in it. So just the characters. She does not ink in any of the backgrounds. And that's what the black outlines are. And then she imports it over to Photoshop, and that's where she does all the coloring and all the painting. She paints in all of the backgrounds, starting with just broad, solid colors with the specific color, figuring out the color palette she wants, and then adds all the details and chips away at those solid colors. And then she does, all the backgrounds are painted, and this is something that we should have noticed, but we didn't. All the backgrounds are painted. All the characters have flat colors, so no, like, it's not brush strokey or anything. It's just solid colors.
That's why they pop so much.
Yeah, exactly. And she said specifically, I love her reasoning for this. One is that it's more immediate to read. It's easier to read, which is I love to see any sort of confirmation of all the stuff we've been talking about, how the readability of this book, how sort of like how intentional that is. And the second reason, which I love, is that she said if the rendering was too good, then people would stop and sort of in awe of the beauty of the rendering.
That's so cool.
And it would screw up the momentum of the story. And so the idea is that it's not too beautiful that you're just constantly stopping and staring at it and missing losing the momentum or the pacing of the story. And then she writes in the voiceover for Hazel's voiceover herself with her childlike printing. And so that's the process, and I think that is hyper fascinating.
It's super cool because I think that really shows in the artwork that Saga doesn't feel like any other comic you've ever read, and I think it's cool to show to see that that's a reflection of the process.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so much a product of her having not done, like she says multiple times throughout the explanation, that this is her experimenting. Like, it might not even be this case anymore, but at least as of, I think, issue 8, this was how she did it. But I think that so much of this is influenced by her being new to comics, and so not a traditional comic artist that is traditionally trained or anything. So she's sort of bringing her own approaches and her own problem solving to it. And actually reminds me a lot of, I remember seeing in an interview with Spielberg that was like a retrospective on Jaws, and how he said, like, if he made Jaws today, he never would have made Jaws the same way. And it probably wouldn't be good because it was him, or he probably wouldn't even say yes to it, because it's like he was so inexperienced that he didn't realize, it's going to be a nightmare to shoot on the water constantly and have a mechanical thing that has to function underwater and all these different variables. And so like that sort of naivety and that sort of just inexperience led to problem solving that most experienced people are terrified to even attempt. And so I feel like that's a lot of the case here, where it's just like it's the fact that she does not do a ton of comics that makes it so unique and the problem solving so cool.
And I think that really speaks to the value of having people from different backgrounds and different trainings, and being willing to. I think it also just speaks to like being willing to just launch yourself into a new medium, even if you don't feel particularly confident. Like, just try new stuff and see what happens. Because a lot of the time, what can happen within an industry is standards that are like in this example, the standards of like penciling and then inking and then coloring and all of that are standards because they were necessary in the pre-digital age. And they remain standards today for no functional reason, just because those are industry standards, right?
Yep.
So sometimes outsiders can bring new angles of approach and new perspectives to this stuff.
Totally. Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's like, I feel like that's a lot of the case in comics with like the process has not changed with the technology.
Yeah.
And I've seen like firsthand, I've seen a lot of people like because with a lot of editors, it's like, okay, you have to bring in like, okay, we expect pencils at this point, and then we expect inks and stuff. And a lot of artists don't work that way anymore because it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's still expected of them, and therefore sort of just screwing up their whole process. So that's one of the perks of this being an image book, is that there's total freedom to do whatever the heck they want. And with that, let's read some of the answers to some of the questions we've got.
Yeah,
we've got a bunch to go through, and we're gonna burn through them.
All right, so where do we start?
We're starting with question 5 here, and I guess this is the only question we had from episode 5, because we left off on episode 4, right? Yes. So the question we're starting with that you folks answered was, how did the Stalk's death affect you? And it was a resounding shocked and a resounding fairly sad.
I think one of the things that a couple people said, and this resonated to me because this is kind of how I felt too, was just like the ballsiness and shock of having such a cool character and being willing to kill them off just like that. It really kind of helps set up the stakes and helps also foreshadows, oh, don't worry, you're gonna get a ton of fucking cool character designs.
Right. Yeah. It's like if Star Wars Episode 1 just killed Darth Maul off 20 minutes into it or something, where it's like, what the fuck? That was such a cool character. And actually it's something that I relate to a lot. But it didn't really occur to me until I read all these responses, was people like, well, here, I'll let Eric Gant said, it's been a while, but I think my initial reaction to her death was mild shock. My investment in the character actually grew after she was killed, as we gradually learned just how much she meant to the Will, how she viewed their relationship, and what her personality was like. And that very much describes my relationship with the Stalk. Is just that retroactive feeling devastated that she's gone, because every sort of flashback or dream sequence is great with her.
I also want to shout out SPTV for saying he felt impressed by the destructive power of his boy Prince Robot 4.
Hashtag Blue Bloods.
and I thought that AC Ayers had a really interesting response. I'll just read this out. She said she didn't form an attachment, but she did enjoy how it was an allegory to police killings. The prince feeling threatened and shooting her immediately with no de-escalation. I thought that was a really cool reading that I had never really read into that moment. So I think that's really cool insight.
Yeah, it's one of those Get Out ending feelings where it's just like it shouldn't happen, but it immediately rings so true that this is how this would play out.
Yeah.
So that's what shock and sadness and perpetual sadness, growing sadness throughout was the general consensus. And then we have this shit show of episode 6. I'm still pissed off about months later. Holy shit. So this is the one where we asked 6 questions as follows. Question 1, what would your spaceship look like? Question 2, were you reading many comics before you started reading Saga? Question 3, have you been reading more comics since? Question 4, would you be interested in Horns and Winks Discord? Question 5, how many questions of the week should we fucking have in one episode? 12? Is 12 the max? Is there a cap on this fucking thing?
I wonder who said that.
Question 6, I wonder who said this. What kind of horns would you have, and what kind of wings would you have if you were a Saga?
I'm hilarious.
I am still sincerely pissed about this, especially since we're a fucking hour into this episode.
I'm regretting this.
Shout out to my wife. Shout out to my wife whose shift just ended.
Yeah.
In her dark coffee shop while I fucking go through all this bullshit.
Yeah. It's not ideal. There's some stuff that I need to be doing.
Well, you have to suffer with me, motherfucker. So let's go through. We'll summarize some of these, but I do want to read through some of the what would your spaceship look like, because these are rad.
I really liked Eric Gant's maybe a cross between a seashell and a pine cone.
Yeah,
that feels like something
spirit.
You could see in Saga. Yeah.
SPTV says mine would be a cardboard box, which I appreciate. What else we got? This is one that I am not familiar with, but it sounds correct. The League of Legends mouse cursor, says Caleb Bowen.
Okay, I'm gonna...
Or Caleb Brown, as you changed their name to last time.
Well, I don't know. We both know I don't know how to read, so...
Well, can you figure out how to read for Kali the Destroyer's answer to this at the top of page whatever?
My spaceship would probably look like a dildo.
See, this is very Saga. We just figured out the final cover. It'll be a dildo, not a big dick.
The dildo spaceship, yep.
I love it.
What do we have the general consensus on reading comics before and after Saga?
Yeah, so for a lot of people, like there is a good chunk of people who Saga was either their introduction to comics, like single comics in general, or it was their introduction to indie comics, which is another thing that reminds me a lot of Sandman, which I guess Sandman was technically, well, it was Vertigo, not DC, but it was from that universe. But I saw a few responses that were like, I read DC and Marvel comics, and this is what got me into creator-owned stuff. And also whether they have been reading more comics since, it's an interesting mix of, yes, it fully got them into comics, or that they were into comics and now they're sort of dying off, like
now that the hiatus is,
they're leaving comics behind, which is which is very much the position I'm just now starting to get back into picking up comics, but I think that's just like, that's the first thing to go if you're in any kind of financial struggle.
Yeah.
And like, there's just, I think the quality,
I think there's also, it's so easy to fall out of the habit of keeping up with comics, because like, you'd think it would be easy because they happen, it's like, oh, just once a month, but months go by fast, and when you've got like a couple things you're reading, or when you're like me and I usually just buy trades, I like kind of ebb in and out of like stopping into a comic book shop and buying a bunch of trades and reading them, and then forgetting what happened in half of these, and then 6 months later seeing new trades, rereading all of them, buying the new trades.
Yeah, it's a like trade. I mean, I sincerely think trades are just the future of comics. I don't know how much of I think that the comic shops that are going to continue to exist are going to be the ones that act more like a bookstore for trades specifically. But yeah, I think that also we should very much point out the context of when Saga was coming out, because this really was just a new golden age of specifically creator-owned comics. Nothing can touch like 2012 to 2015, because that was when we had I don't know if you know the Warren Ellis forums group of people, but like there's this sort of generation of comics creators that all sort of like came into their own on Warren Ellis's online forums. And that was the people that were on there was I don't remember Fiona. I have no idea if Fiona Staples was on there. I think that might be before her time. But it was Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Chip Zdarsky, Kieran Gillen, Jamie McKelvey, who did Scott Pilgrim was on there.
What's his name?
I think his name is Scott Pilgrim.
Brian Lee O'Malley.
Okay, yeah. Brian Lee O'Malley was on there. Like all of these like people who hit very big, like at a very specific time. I think Brian Lee O'Malley was big before a lot of them, but still. But then, like around 2012, and with the success of Saga, it's very much due to Saga and Walking Dead putting Image on the map, and creators saying, "Oh, I guess Marvel isn't the end point. I guess Marvel is a stepping stone to being able to do these awesome creator-owned projects." And so then we got like Wicked and Divine, and we got Sex Criminals, and we got Pretty Deadly, and it was just this like influx of all these amazing creator-owned books.
Around that time, there was a real kind of resurgence in Vertigo too. Because that's when you get Sweet Tooth. That's when you get iZombie. That's where you get a lot of because Vertigo was kind of really big in the 90s. And early 2000s. It had Y the Last Man and some things. But it kind of ebbed a bit. But then you got all these Vertigo titles again. Vertigo is really, that era of Vertigo is really what got me into comics.
Yeah, and then also even like Marvel, I think DC, at least around at 2012, this is like New 52 era that everyone's just like jumping ship. But Marvel, this is also like, we had Captain Marvel, we had Ms. Marvel, we had Hawkeye, we had just all these like Squirrel Girl and Warren Ellis's. Have you read Warren Ellis's Moon Knight run?
Oh, I don't think I have. No, have you read Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight run?
Well, that was like,
my god, yeah,
no, that was
2 years ago, and like, yeah.
Because I think Brian Wood took it over or something, and that's what.
That's much more contemporary.
But dude, no, Moon Knight, because you're already a Warren Ellis fan. Moon Knight is 6 issues that he did with Declan Shalvey, and it is
that sounds
probably
amazing.
the most pristine run of anything ever. Like in terms of just like, it is 6 like totally non. Like no continuity, just like 6 short stories that are just
that's
pure
amazing
creativity and pure Warren Ellis doing whatever the fuck Warren Ellis wants to do.
That's perfect for Moon Knight too.
Yeah, no, go check that out.
Also, another one, just because if we're naming these, which this is also serving as a like reading recommendation.
Yeah, good thing we're not getting on a tangent.
Another one at this time that was that was really big and really good on Vertigo was The Unwritten. The Unwritten is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Anyways, so read more comics.
Yeah, but that's why I was saying, like, I feel like we've really come down from that, and the comics industry is in a weird place now. And so it's very much young adult focus, which is awesome, but people are finally figuring out that graphic novels are much better to read and cheaper. But yeah, so I can see why some people are falling off. Would you be interested in a Horns and Wings Discord? It's an even split between yes and what's Discord.
Okay.
So I'll leave that up to Noah if he wants to start one, because I can't do that right now.
I may, or someone else could start it. If you want one, you guys can start it. Yeah,
we've had offers.
That's great.
Right,
invite me.
There's the go ahead. Right.
I don't use Discord, but do it. Yeah, you have.
Just why'd I sign on to your goddamn Patreon then, Noah? How many questions of the week should we fucking have? The consensus is I don't even give a fuck. I don't even give a fuck what the consensus is. It's gonna be 1 or 2 tops from now on. What kind of horns would you have? What kind of wings would you have if you were a Saga? We got some.
What a good phrasing.
I like the Eric Gant said huge fucking bull horns, like the red dude in that movie Legend. And what's his name? That's he was the original Pennywise.
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. And he said huge fucking bull horns and bat wings. We got some badass goths, judging by these responses.
Well, my favorite answer, I love the phrasing and the answer by Odd Amy. Them twisty horns like the kudu do. Great owl and then great horned owl wings, so I may fly in silence to catch my prey.
These are correct answers here.
Yeah. I really liked the owl wings answer. I thought that was a little outside of the box.
Yeah, I like Kali the Destroyer. I kind of just want to see, because it says annoying as hell antlers and maybe hummingbird wings. Oh, and then someone else pointed out Ellen Nix says My horns would be Wendigo / deer antlers a la Hannibal. My wings would be bat-like. And I'm glad that someone got the Hannibal reference in there so that I don't have to do it.
I was gonna say my mind with Wendigo / deer antlers goes somewhere else, and I'll give you one guess as to what that is.
Clearly, Until Dawn, the video game with Wendigos.
No, it's Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, you fucking nerd.
We all know that Sweet Tooth is actually a Mooney.
Oh, you know what? I feel like we should answer. Are you gonna go? Like, would that be yours? I feel like that has to be yours.
Yeah,
your answer.
I think mine. I've always just thought antlers are really cool aesthetically, and wings. I'm not as sure on wings, but I think kind of like Black Angel wings, goth shit.
I'm like I want big like owl wings. Like I want a nice foresty aesthetic to to match my clothes. and I don't know, what are some cool horns? Triceratops. There we go.
I like that.
I'm breaking new ground
like
here.
with the full shield.
Yes. that's my receding hairline is the Triceratops shield.
All right. Triceratops.
Editing. So why is oh my gosh.
This is the most important question.
This is what we've been working towards this whole series. Fucking 15 episodes now. Why is the shoe off? Issue 7. The Will's jerking it. Why is the shoe off? Is my question unto everyone.
Well, Dallas, his dudeness Taylor, said, clearly the shoe is off because that's the only way the Will can get his jollies. That's what he was hoping for on Sextillion. Hot, filthy, one shoe action.
I would not put it past people. We got some simple ones. Gunslinger 199 says maybe he had a pebble in the shoe, which makes sense. He was just on a beach.
Yep.
Odd Amy says the shoe is a metaphor. Thanks, Odd Amy. We figured that one out. I love this one. Our classic friend, Hat Eating Cthulhu Goat, says he threw the shoe at Lion Cat because he wanted some privacy with his sex tapes. See, this is the kind of thinking that I want to see on these.
And then, true to our form, the other question from this issue was another really light, easygoing question.
Yeah. What's a formative moment in your childhood that's at all reflected in Saga so far? Just taking it easy on this one.
I thought there were. It was really interesting. I think the answers that stuck out to me most with this was the both kind of thematically just about indoctrination as a child. We had Krista Stevens, who talked about indoctrination to a Baptist private school, and then we had Mackenzie Bean, who talked about kind of their mom telling them, if you don't go to college, I'll kill you, and kind of pushing back on that and being traumatized by that kind of indoctrination from parents.
Yeah. Which pressured Mackenzie to get into college and get into debt at a very young age, which is I think an issue for a lot of people, obviously. And yeah, it's now I like how Mackenzie ends it with love the podcast. It will definitely keep me company on my hour-long commute when I start grad school for biomedical engineering. You really committed to that, huh? So yeah, it's I think that's a very prominent thing that we will continue to see, and it's such an important part of war, is that indoctrination and that sort of brainwashing and
I did not think that there was going to be someone who was able to tie both of these questions together in one answer, but do you want to read Adam Grove's answer?
Adam. When I was 13, I was at a buddy of mine's house, and his mother beat me with a shoe for sassing off. So there you go, formative childhood memory, and that's why Will has the shoe off. Obviously, he's about to beat someone. He's about to beat something. Am I right?
Yeah.
His dick. So, and then of course, this is something we should keep in mind. Had Eating Cthulhu Goat said, I actually have a lot of formative moments that are reflected in Saga, but none so far. Please just ask the question again next year. So let's try to keep that in mind, because we will absolutely double dip on these.
We'll do that for you, Hat Eating Cthulhu Goat.
Just for you.
You're one of our day ones.
Yeah. Appreciate it. And we're going to move on to we're only going to cover, I think, we're going through issue 10 here to take it so this isn't a 50-hour episode, but issue 8, our question was, of the locations we've seen so far, where do you want to visit most and what do you want to do there? And there's a surprising lack of agreement on there. Actually, you know what? No, it's kind of just 2 answers.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised we missed this option anytime we've talked about this, but we had a number of people saying that they wanted to go to the Dragon Train.
Yeah. Which I like how it was. Odd Amy says, pounding table. I want to go to Dragon Train now. Having Cthulhu Goat asks Odd Amy, but where do you want the Dragon Train to take you? Odd Amy says, I don't need a destination when I have a train that is a dragon. And that is exactly right.
I want a Snowpiercer remake set on the Dragon Train.
Oh, that needs to be like a bottle issue of Saga. Yeah. It's just to get from the back to the front of the Dragon Train. Give me a train murder mystery, please. Give me an Agatha Christie Saga murder mystery.
Yeah, Dragon Train murder mystery.
Dragon Train Express. But I will say, like, I can relate to that. I am surprised that I haven't said that before, because I love train travel. That is, speaking of places I like to work in, like my ideal locations, like second to lake in the middle of nowhere there's like, they give out a writer's grant here in the States for you just live on a train for like a month. Like a nice like train, like with the sleeping cars and stuff. And they give you a grant to write, and it has to be, somewhat relevant to the experience.
I'll tell you about trains is that they drive under my fucking building every day at 5 a.m. and wake me the goddamn up.
How much were you paying for that fucking apartment? Fucking
Too
suburbs,
much,
dude. Let me tell you about a little place called St. Louis, my friend. $700 a month, baby. No trains in sight. Except for a block away. Mackenzie
Bean said Wreath looks gorgeous, which I think is very true. I think that's something we overlooked.
Yeah, especially when there's not murder hallucinations happening on it.
We got the rocket ship tree.
Of course.
And of course, we got Sextillion. SPTV specifically said, if Fart is there, I'm going to Sextillion. We're on a level, SPTV.
ACAer says, the Sextillion, what would I do? The Angel Ladies. And, I'm going to have to go with Fart on this one.
What's your answer here?
Oh boy, I mean rocket ship tree, like just so that I can figure out how to stay there forever.
I would have said rocket ship tree, but I don't think this was an option when we asked this question. But I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna say Quietus.
Oh, Quietus is rad. Yeah, no, that is like
just like write all day and then have beers with Goose in the evening.
I like the mobility of Rocket Ship Tree. That's the thing, is like Rocket Ship Tree is kind of a cheat answer, because then you can just say like, I land on Quietus. There you go. But yeah, no, very, very valid responses. And hey, we write stuff. Did that get spoiled by our fucking answers to that? Down to the last few questions here.
What was the context of this?
Oh, what does HQQ stand for in issue 9? That is how Mama Sun answers the phone.
Right. Odd Amy says, "Hey, quack quack,"
which is my new catchphrase.
Hey, quack quack,
quack quack, pop pop.
Head queen quarters.
Head queen quarters. Who's saying? Oh, Leah Mitchum says head queen quarters. Which what my answer was what headquarters quarters. So head 16ths was my answer.
High queen's queries.
There's a lot of queens here.
Hope dies last with horribly questionable quickies. Speaking of Fard.
You said Hope dies last. I'm like, that's not HQQ. What the fuck are you what's wrong with these people? Yeah, and then also we had SPTV coming in with, after Googling HQQ, the Urban Dictionary says that it's an acronym for all STDs, old, new, and undiscovered. so that adds up with sextillion. And I hope that was the intention of it. What do the mole guys sound like, Noah?
Yeah. So Odd Amy says a very guttural squelching kind of noise that could like almost make words. That sounds very unpleasant.
Yeah, I like the diversity in these answers.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, SPTV says the mole people all sound like Joe Pesci. That's kind of how I imagine it.
See, this is one I can appreciate a lot because Leah Mitchum says that the mole guys sound like the Underminer, voiced by John Ratzenberger in The Incredibles, and so, which I guess because he looks like a mole person, that might be like a sort of like Freudian answer, but I'm here for it. I'm all about it.
Krista Stevens says they sound like a bunch of old white drunk dudes with a smoker's cough. So Joe Pesci.
What are we? This one's really upsetting to me. Just very nasally and far off sounding human voices. They don't actually have mouths. Also imagine disgusting wet noises when the flappy things on their faces move.
That's the vibe I got from Odd Amy's answer too, with the guttural squelching. Yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Let's just move on to the next question from there.
Right. And then we got ooh, this is a good one. What other astronomical super predators might exist in this galaxy? Although a lack of, I feel like we didn't get a ton of answers to this one, which I'm disappointed by. But
there's some cool ones though.
We did get our first fan art, which I am very appreciative of. Ben Spencer. So what did Ben Spencer draw here?
So I'm just gonna read his tweet, and that's what he drew.
All right.
I reckon there's a giant TV remote who is worshipped as a god by Prince 4 and all the other robots. I love it. I love it.
Good. It's so good.
Just
and then,
floating through space.
Yep. And then Ben drew us, a gorgeous remote and a lot of detail on the planets and galaxies, which I appreciate. So we'll post that on the Twitter too, because that's fantastic. I love this one, Odd Amy. Odd Amy killing it this ep.
Yeah.
3 words: Galactic Venus flytrap. I love it. I mean, put galactic ahead of anything and it's rad, but that is, we're getting into some Little Shop of Horrors stuff, which I appreciate.
Galactic squelching noises.
And I'm gonna go ahead and initiate my our emergency no squelching rule for this podcast.
Gunslinger 199 says a big purple guy eating planets. That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah.
That.
And then this one,
This
I like
is super
a lot.
cool.
CJK.
No, that is not. This person's name is Yellow Heart Ghost Purple Heart Spider CJK several exclamation points.
Red exclamation, white exclamation, red exclamation. So remember how we're low on time. CJK says a living mist that eats the skin of whatever passes through it, but leaves the rest of the body alive. Which again, I like how we got living mist and big purple guy. We're getting all of the interpretations of Galactus.
But yeah, the eating the skin of whatever passes through it, that feels Saga-esque. That's fucking dark.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen the mole people without a face thanks to Lion Cat.
Yeah.
So I could totally see. Oh yeah, and we later see a skinless, like just an organ monster, which is fucking rad. So yeah, I want to see all of these. I want to see all these. Someone commission artists. And our final question. Oh my gosh, what's your favorite piece of Saga tech so far?
Ben Spencer said that he likes crash helms and would wear it and open portals by waving his dick around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was oddly the answer for everyone. Like, I don't know. Everyone is just consensus. Dick portals was how to do it.
We got the Lance, which we got the Heartbreaker, which is a very good name for a little stun gun, which I think is awesome. And CJK's answer is great. The rocket ship tree, which I think kind of counts as technology.
Yeah, it's organic technology, but then aren't humans organic technology, dude? Blowing your fucking mind right now. Oh man, so yeah, we gotta cut it off there. But
I have an answer to this one though. That
we should answer these. And also, I want to hear your galactic super predator, your astronomical super predator.
I haven't thought of an astronomical super predator actually, but I always just think of
improv,
like,
bro. This is our job, man. I got nothing either.
I just think of like big like kind of whale-like things that float through space, devouring whatever comes in their way, or like. What about a living black hole? I guess that's a time suck.
That's the time suck, yeah.
Yeah. But the technology, I wanted to say, my favorite piece was actually Bar's loom. The loom in the rocket ship tree.
That's rad, yeah.
Where seems like you can spin flowers into magic, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that... Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's probably what was happening there.
You got a favorite piece of tech?
Favorite piece of tech? I love the lance. It's so cool. I feel like that's like a Indiana Jones whip level of iconic weapon. And you know what? I just want to make up an astronomical space predator, super predator, and I'm gonna say it is a water planet shark. As in, it is a giant planet shaped like a shark, and it is covered in an ocean.
Covered in water.
But it has like
a bunch
land
of
masses.
other sharks live in it.
Listen to this shit. It has land masses as features, so it's got like a mountain as its like back fin and stuff, and it's got like little islands for eyes and caves for teeth. I don't fucking know.
That actually makes me think of like a turtle flying through space with 4 elephants on its back, and perched on the back of those 4 elephants is a disc-shaped planet.
Like in Stephen King's It, right?
Yes, that's the literary reference here.
Yeah. Cosmic turtle.
All right. It's been a goddamn minute.
Hey, let's stop doing this, please. Not just this one, but all of them, preferably.
if people want to find you, and if people want to find us, where can they find us?
I kind of don't want to tell them anymore after this one. You can find the channel at just Horns and Wings on Twitter, and look us up on your podcast. Subscribe, please. It helps us out. We've been getting a lot of reviews. We're sitting at a very strong 4.9 on Apple.
Oh.
We've had one negative review with a 3, and it just screws you up forever, I guess. But yeah, and then, go find me at Wash Polyphonic. Wash, WASH Polyphonic on Twitter. That is where I'm the most active. Totally.
And you can find me on Instagram at Watch Polyphonic.
Perfect. And we have no question of the week, so I don't gotta do that. But answer the other ones. Go ahead and answer from what is it, 11 on now. You're still good to answer. Yep. Big thank you to Fiona Staples, and big apology to Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan and Phonographics and Image Comics
for desecrating their legacy,
for doing this. And oh boy, what sign off are we at right now?
We're throwing it back now. I'm gonna end with a big question. Say it with me loud. Say it with me proud.
The astronomical super predator of course.
Am I shitting?
Am I shitting? Bye.